Okay. All right, so it's a good evening, Maneru, Ndimadekwana, to everybody who's watching out there. And it's a welcome to another episode of Live Chats on Monday with, of course, your host, Ronald Moringai, the one and only. And today, of course, we are featuring a internationally acclaimed, recognized singer, songwriter, actress, entrepreneur, humanitarian, teacher, who, by the way, is a teacher. Yes, it's World Teachers Day today. So I think it's a happy World Teachers Day to you, Mama Yvonne.
Thank you very much, Ronald. I don't know what's wrong. Maybe I'm trying to chicken out. I've got a cough, but I want to say good evening to you, good evening to your followers, and to everyone who's participating tonight.
Appreciate it. Thank you. And so I think that the thing that really made me want to interview you is, of course, you do all of these things. Like I mentioned in the introduction earlier, you've got all these hundreds of titles that have been imputed to your name. But most importantly, you are a wife and you're also a mother, which is what I think is the interesting aspect of our conversation today. And I wanted to find out, you being a wife and you being a mother, now, how was your relationship when you look back with your parents before you became a parent yourself?
Well, I must say that obviously things have changed now. I grew up from a family of 3 girls. I've got 2 elder sisters, and I'm the last one in the family. And my father, unfortunately, died when I was only 11 years old. So I was brought up by my mum. So it was a family of 4 girls, you can imagine. By the time I sort of started getting clever, you know, and being a teen, I was only having a single parent, which was my mom. And I must say that my mother has always been ahead of her time, even though she was not that educated. But she was just an amazing woman, because she never at once, now today I look back as a 55-year-old and a mother of boys, I look back and I think this woman was ahead of her time. Single-handedly, she brought the 3 girls. But what she did for us, now that I'm a mother, I know is that she protected us, guarded us, and guided us to do all the right things. She could have said, you girls go and fend for yourselves. She never did that. She was always making sure that we received everything that we needed, not everything that we wanted, but everything that we needed.
That's a glowing tribute, I must say, that you give to your mom. And I think in the time that you grew up in, you don't look 55, by the way. It looks like you are just here, about 30 something here. But I'm imagining the apartheid era, and of course the separation that it did to fathers who were working on the mines and mothers who were working in the kitchens, you know, as domestics, and having to see their children potentially only cover Christmas or around about the weekends, thereabouts. And I'm thinking, how difficult was that then to try and build a good relationship with your mom during that time where she had to literally separate herself for her to be able to give you guys all these things that you needed?
Well, great question. It wasn't very easy. As I said, mom was a father and a mother to us. So when my dad died, the apartheid government took the house from her. So we ended up staying in the backyard of the madam. My mom worked as a domestic worker, by the way. So we ended up staying with her and the people that she worked for. So at least we were not sort of separated that much. Even though the guy who my mother worked for, the boss, hated us, you know, he never liked us. Every time we wanted to play in the yard, we would play when he was not there. As soon as he arrived, the madam will come and say, Sophie, hide the kids, the boss is here. So, you know, my mother, as I said, she protected us and she was guiding us and guarding us, you know, with everything that she had. So it was very easy because we would go to the township, commute, go to the townships, go to Soweto to school, and then come back to where my mom used to work. So we, you know, I grew up in a very close-knit family, you know, so it wasn't very, very difficult because you can imagine if my mom had left us with family or with friends in the township, and she went and worked. Yes, that did happen for a very short time, but you know what? She decided that I want to take my kids and we'll all share this very small room. I'm sure people who know rooms, you know, for domestic workers, they know that it's just very small rooms. So we shared that whole room, and the three girls obviously will sleep on the floor. She had a single bed as well, because that was the only thing that was catered for her. It was just a room and the bathroom outside. So we will just sleep on the floor with my two sisters, and we're just at home in this single room.
And I think I must identify with some of those things that you just mentioned there, because my mom at some point in time as well was a domestic, you know. So I think it says for most of us coming up in that era anyway, we kind of have that lived experience of having to share our mothers with other people's children, you know. And I think looking at all of those challenges, therefore, you know, the boss not really liking you and chasing you out of the house and growing and literally just not getting as much in terms of finances as you would have potentially compared with the kids of the bus. How did all of that almost inspire you or motivate you to then become the person that you are today?
I think when I look back, you know, I must appreciate Pat. Pat is the lady my mother worked for. She was amazing, because in the couple of years that we stayed with her, you know, in the backyard, she was actually at the back of it, fighting for my mom to get back her house. And she did do that. You know, she fought for my mother to get back her house. And eventually we got back our house and we moved back to Soweto, to Dobsonville. But during those times, you know, it was not easy, because you can imagine we had to wake up in the morning, go commute to Soweto, you know, and I always had questions. I would always ask my mom. I mean, I was bitten several times because my mother would find me talking to her madam. And, you know, when I go back into the room, she would give me a spanking, because she would ask me, what were you saying to my madam? What were you talking to her about? But as a young girl, you know, you are 11, you're 12. I wanted to know, why are we staying in the backyard? Why am I supposed to commute when there's a school just around the corner where your two daughters, Vivian and Louise, are going to? Why am I supposed to go to the townships? And I used to ask all those questions because, you know, I wanted to know, you know, and the madam, you know, Pat would answer and say, oh, but Yvonne, you know, the system would not allow you. It's just how it's done. And you're a 12-year-old, you're an 11-year-old. You want to know what bloody system? What is a system that says a white person is better than a black person? A white girl cannot go with a black girl to school. So, you know, and my mother would be very upset with me. You know, she would tell me, you want me to be fired from work? Why are you talking to my madam? But, you know, I've always been this very forward child. Growing up, I've always been forward. I've asked questions. I remember as a 9-year-old, I did not understand when a teacher asked, what would you like to be when you grow up? Because of the stereotype that had been put, you know, in our minds, you know, I said I wanted to be white. I did not understand. For me, being white meant having everything, having a good house, going to a good school, having a good car, having it all. Because I thought, yes, I'm black, but now the white government has taken the house from my mom. We're living in this backyard, but white people have got swimming pools. They've got these big yards. They're going to the school just across the road. Why can't I be like that? I thought, I'm born black, but maybe as I grow up, I'll be white, you know? But today I look back and I say, I am a black woman, a very proud one for that matter, very assertive, working very hard and knowing what I want. And thank you to all those people who supported me to achieve everything that I have today.
History does record indeed that it you know, puts some sort of accuracy to the claim that you just made, that you were a forward child. And I see that you were actually the first Black child to feature on South African television. I'm trying to think to myself now, there are a lot of parents out there who potentially could be watching this and have seen that their kids have these gifts and talents that would potentially make them make it in the entertainment industry. What advice would you potentially give to these parents, you know, from your experience personally as you were growing up in front of the camera, to look out for, to watch out for, or the things they should really take into consideration before they expose their children to the industry?
You know, things have changed. Things have changed, and I think they've changed for the better. I mean, a 3-year-old now will always grab an iPad from the mom or from the dad. They even know that there's a PIN code, you know. So technology has taken precedence in our lives. So our young children are exposed in lots and lots of things. And to those teenagers, I want to say to them, you can be anything that you want to be. I think sometimes we as parents always want to live our lives through our children. What I didn't achieve, I want my children to achieve. I don't think it should be like that. If my son today decides he wants to be a DJ, he doesn't want to be a doctor. My husband is a doctor. He doesn't want to be a musician. I should not force him to do what I did not excel in doing or succeed to do. I should leave my son to be what he wants to be. If my son tomorrow says, I want to be a pilot, I, as a parent, should make sure that I help him. I channel him through the right channels, you know, to be able to achieve what he aspires to, what he wants to do, not what I want him to do. You know, as a young girl, my mother wanted me to be a lawyer. And I must say, I did try to study law, but I failed Afrikaans 3 times. I failed history 1. I failed mercantile law. I only passed English. And I said to my mom, it's not working out. I wanted to be a chartered accountant as a young girl, you know, because I loved accounting. I loved numbers. But I think above all, I loved money. I wanted to know, how do people make money and how do people make money work for them? So, but because there were constraints, my mother worked as a domestic worker, and she was the only parent. So she couldn't take me to university, even though she really wished. But she insisted that I go and get a bursary, I go and get a scholarship to go and study that. So I didn't become what she wished me for me to do. And whilst I was going to race relationships, because that was the only place where Black children could get scholarships, I then found myself at the SABC, and then that's how Yvonne Chaka Chaka was found.
I think this whole issue of supporting our children's careers. I had a guest on the show, I think about a few weeks ago, and we discussed this at length. And I was just trying to put into context the fact that us as a Black people generally do not come from a financially successful or economically empowered backgrounds, you know. So when obviously somebody then comes and says your child wants to become an rapper, or they want to sing or something like that, then we kind of have that consternation as parents, you know, to think, hey, but can't you be a doctor or a lawyer or a teacher? I think, how did you navigate that then with your mom when you kind of exposed to say, look, I've tried this law thing, I've given it my best, but hey, Afrikaans yampala, and how did that conversation take place, and how did you win the argument with your mother?
Well, it wasn't very easy, I must say. It wasn't easy. I had just completed my matric and I was due to go to university, you know. And my mother, as I said, she was a very hard nut to crack. The guy who found me, Phil Hollis, he had to navigate his way to get through my mom. So it wasn't very easy because I was actually 19. So too many challenges and bottlenecks, you know, ahead of me, you know, were there. Because I was 19, you had to be 21 years old to be able to sign a contract in South Africa. So you can imagine that there were so many stumbling blocks, you know. So when Phil Hollis eventually spoke to my mom was never pleased, and she was not taken up. Even when he gave the 10,000 rands advance, my mother just said, not my child, she must just go to school. Because once she starts singing, she's going to be a chamors. That was the word she used, you know. And she said, my child's going to start staying in Hillbrow. My child's not going to come back at home. She's going to start drinking and smoking and just become a chamors. Those were her words. But because I knew what I wanted, even though I had it in my mind what I wanted, I think God had already paved the way for me, you know, because she eventually agreed. My first contract was signed by my mom because I wasn't 21. My two sisters, Refilo and Doreen, persuaded her to say, you know, Mom, sign this contract. We're going to be rich. You know, we're going to come out of poverty. But she really wasn't pleased, and she was just not impressed at all. So I had to prove my mom and everybody, particularly those people who called me an overnight success, because I was very fortunate that I'm in love with the DJ, was recorded, done, finished. We did the video, everything without my mother knowing. And the problem came when everything was supposed to be released and the contract had to be signed. That's when she was brought in. So I had to say to my mom, I am going to make you proud. I get that certificate or that degree that you want me to do. So I had to make sure that I do go to school. I do acquire knowledge, because for my mother, it was, you know, fame comes and goes. And when it's gone, what are you going to do? But when you have education, no one can ever take it away from you. You're lucky because you've just finished your matric. You can go to university or go to college, and you can continue studying until you're 60. And I'm like, when I'm 60, I'm going to be dead, Mom, you know. And I look back now and I'm 55, and I just, you know, I'm busy registering. I've just registered, you know, with Johns Hopkins to do public health. So my mother put education first, you know, and I had to make sure that I do not disappoint her. So I went to Trinity College of London to study for public speaking and speech and drama. And then I tried my hand in studying law. That's where I failed Afrikaans, History 1, Mercantile Law. And I decided to study something else, adult basic education. And that's what really made my mother happy, because at least she knew that I wasn't sitting on my laurels, but I was bettering myself. I was making myself, I was expanding my horizon by studying.
And I think it's that the fear that your mom had, and I kind of almost see a lot of Black parents having the same fear of their children becoming that chamors that you mentioned there. And I suppose the evidence is there. We look around in the entertainment industry, there's a lot of people that really have that similar story. They live their rural home backgrounds, they come to Johannesburg looking for fame, and things don't really work out. You know, they end up in dingy places and abused and exploited by, you know, different types of people out there. And it really almost is a story that we see on a daily basis. Now, you managed to still step into that industry and avoid all of that. Now, I think for a lot of people that look at you, they look at you with that admiration type, to say, this is one celebrity who managed to get married, have children, and sustain her marriage over such a long time. How did you get that balance right between all the demands that your spotlight requires of you, and obviously taking care of your husband and your children as well as they're growing up?
Well, a celebrity, I don't know. I don't consider myself a celebrity. I'm a mother to my boys and a mother to all other girls and other children, and a wife to my husband. As I said, you know, as a young girl, my mother always said, you need to get education. You need to be empowered. And I did not understand, how do I get empowered? Because as a young girl, you aspire to finish school, maybe go to college or university, and then get married, get a rich husband, because all of us, we all want rich husbands, get married, and my husband will look after me. And I think from a very, very early age, my mother never actually made us to aspire to get married. She always said, go to school, get educated. If the marriage comes, it will come. It was a, by the way, it wasn't something that she would have really forced it on us, because my mother always said, your happiness is the first thing. You need to be empowered. You need to be able to do things for yourself. never depend on anyone, even a husband. Because remember, your husband comes from a family. He has extended family. He's got relatives. He's got people that he has to help, look after, pay for their fees, buy food, do all sorts of things. So do not think that you will meet somebody that you don't know and he will do things for you. And I could not understand. And today I look back and I think, wow, this woman was really cut from a different cloth. So she used to say, if marriage comes, yes, it will come. And it is important that you respect your husband and do all the choices that women do. But you must be very empowered, you know. So when I started singing songs like I Cry for Freedom, which really were talking about women empowerment as early as 1987, to be what I want to be, do what I want to do, I need my independence more than I need you. You know, those were the words. Obviously, the song was supposed to be a freedom song. I cry for freedom. But when SABC did not want to play the song that we wanted, we had to change the song and talk about a woman who wants her independence, a woman who wants to be empowered, a woman who doesn't want to depend on anyone. So really, for me, singing was something that gave me a platform, firstly, to be able to articulate the atrocities that were happening in my country. It was a platform for me to talk about the good and the bad. It was a platform that said, yes, we are South Africans and we can do anything. That it was embracing the cultural space. It was embracing what Miriam Makeba, Dorothy Masuku, Fela Kuti, and all other African artists had done. Because remember, when I came here, there were those who came before me, paved the way, and I had to walk in their footsteps.
All right, and as I think we just got a bit of network connectivity issues there, but now that I see that you're back, I'm thinking you talk about the chores that you had to perform as a woman, as a wife, as a mother, you know, change diapers, cook muhodu, potentially masonja, you know, for your family and for your husband. And you've just stepped off the stage from singing for the Queen, from singing for Oprah. Doesn't that put in your head a sense of, I don't deserve to be doing this? How did you manage to get that sense of humility to say, you know what, this is still my husband, this is still my child, even though I'm such a big global icon, as it were?
You know, I've always said to myself, it is good to be in the public arena. It is good to be in the public eye, but that doesn't make you any better than any other person. Because if you are alone, in fact, let me rephrase this. You are being put, you are given a platform by those who elevate you, you know. That's how I've always interpreted my space, that people who love you, people who make you who you are, people who support you, people who buy your music, who come to your shows, they are the ones who give you and elevate you, you know, to that kind of a platform. So you have to appreciate that first to start with. And I've always had that at the back of my mind. And when that final curtain closes down, who best do you need? You need your family. Because remember, it is all good being on stage, perform, dance, or whether you're a comedian, whether you're an actress, but when that final curtain closes, you need somebody to support you as well. And who best to do it than your family? So I've always had that at the back of my mind, that when I finished my stage, I mean, I've traveled with my kids when they were younger. And when I come out of stage, I'll go and breastfeed my kids, you know. So I used to travel with my kids because I wanted that bond. And when I come out of stage, I know that when I'm at home, I want to be a mother. When I'm at home, I'm a mother. When I'm at home, I'm a wife. When I'm at home, I have to cook. Not because that's my job, because it's something that I also want to do. I'm not forced to do all those things, but I wanted to create a family. So a family has a father and a mother. So fathers and mothers have to work together to bring up their children. So it's not my job really to cook, but I can get my kids to say, you guys help me to peel the vegetables and things like that. And we do it together, you know. And if I did not feel like cooking or whatever, I'd call my husband and say, please bring some takeaway for us to cook, because I had a long day, or I was busy in board meetings, or I was busy in the studio. So you create your family, you create the way you want to live with your loved ones. You know, no one should force you to do the things that you don't want to do. No one should tell you that a woman's place is in the kitchen. No. So that's how it's, I always say, you know, I've been very lucky in the 31 years getting married to my husband, because he is a medical doctor and I am, you know, doing the work that I do. So I'm not here to compete with my husband, and I'm not here to change him. He's not here to compete with me or to change me from what I am, but we're here to build the family. So I always say it's important that as a married couple, we know that there's respect amongst each other, there's tolerance amongst each other, and there's support amongst each other, and communication. At the end of the day, we're not here to compete, you know, we're here to complete each other.
Yeah, 31 years is a long time to be married. I've only been married about 4, and I can tell you there's a number of times that I've wanted to take knives and throw at my wife, and I'm sure she wanted to throw boiling water over me as I slept. So you've done well. I think congratulations. We really look up to you, and we enjoy looking such a big person like yourself, who has managed to keep, of course, the basics in place, you know, as much as many in the industry have failed thus far. Now, I know, of course, in the job that you do, your day job, as it were, there's a song that you sang, you know, and you sang it completely in Shona. Well, there's a bit of English here and there. I'm Zimbabwean originally. And when I heard that song, I just thought, how? Mami Yvonne can speak Shona. How did that happen? Tell me a bit of that story. How did you come to choose the most heavenly language to be the one that you're going to sing in?
Well, I must say thank you to AP Sibia, who wrote the song for me, by the way, you know. And we actually went to Rosebank because the song was written in English, and to get some people who speaks perfect Shona to help us translate the song. And because for me, it was talking about the land. It was talking about your skin and my skin being the same. It was talking about showing a little bit of compassionate, a little bit of love. Why should mother and child, you know, die or be killed when man decides to take up arms and go and fight? So, you know, when I listen to Kano Chechema, which is one of my most favorite songs, I say, yes, land still is a big issue to each and every one of us.
I think then, would you mind, as we wrap up, giving us a bit of a taste of that song that you love so much?
Ndochido changu kukona uchinyere mwerera gandara koraka swivirira uzi rako rakafanana nerangu ukama hunoti badaneza ndewe makori yakawanda kana uchema ndinozwa moyo wangu kurazibwa.
That's all I can add there. I think as we finish up the show, Mami Yvonne, there's one question that I always ask the guests, you know, before we close it off, to say, if for example, by some miracle, this video, this live stream would be seen by everybody in the world at the very same time, what's the one message that you want to keep to the world right now?
The message that I'd really love to give to the world, I mean, there's too many things, you know, there's too many asks, by the way, but I think once we all realize that we are born with nothing, and when we die, we take absolutely nothing with us, people will stop being greedy, people will stop being corrupt, people will stop wanting to take and take, people will stop wanting to kill women. You know, gender-based violence is the thing, but just realizing that we are here, we're born with nothing, and we're taking absolutely nothing with us, and that's it.
Thank you very much. You've heard it for yourself out there, people, and for everybody who managed to log in today. We appreciate your time, appreciate your presence. Thank you to Mami Yvonne for sticking to the time, and you've been an absolutely awesome guest. You know, you've actually given us even a song for us to be able to hear you sing, and we know that you're not being dubbed there in studio. It's your real voice that's out there. We appreciate that very much, and I suppose we'll be hoping to see you soon then sometime.
Thank you very much for having me. Be careful, I may just send you an invoice.
I feared that. Everybody else there watching out on the live chat on Monday today, appreciate you for coming through. Until next week, it is goodbye.
Atenda.